Hundreds of ballots were damaged when 2 ballot drop boxes were set on fire in Oregon and Washington state yesterday. And Israel's parliament has banned operations for the UN's main aid agency for Palestinians. Good morning. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Vice President Harris will speak from Washington, D.C. tonight in what's being billed as her closing argument to voters 1 week before Election Day. As NPR's Tamara Keith reports, the venue is symbolic, with ties to January 6th and then-President Donald Trump.
Harris will speak from the Ellipse, with the White House illuminated in the background. When Trump spoke there on January 6th, he was trying to cling to power. Now Harris is trying to make sure he never again stands behind the seal of the President of the United States. According to her campaign, Harris plans to argue that voters have a choice between someone who will always put himself first and her, someone who will put the American people first. The campaign says this argument is less about history and more about making a case that the country can move on from the Trump era. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
Former President Trump's campaign says he'll hold a news conference this morning at his Florida resort. He's also scheduled to hold a rally tonight in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Former Trump strategist Steve Bannon has been released from federal prison. He served 4 months because he refused to comply with a congressional subpoena about the deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters. 2 fires were started yesterday in 2 ballot drop boxes in Portland, Oregon, and in nearby Vancouver, Washington. Officials in Washington say hundreds of ballots in Vancouver were badly damaged. Portland Assistant Police Chief Amanda McMillan says a fire suppression system protected the ballots in the Portland drop box.
We really just want to acknowledge the heightened emotion around this event as we build up to the election. We're acutely aware going into the election how folks are feeling, and then events like this with the damage at the ballot boxes.
That audio is courtesy of KATU-TV. It's believed the 2 fires are linked. Voters in Oregon and in Washington state cast ballots only by mail and drop box. Israel's parliament has passed legislation banning operations for the United Nations main aid agency for Palestinians. Israel says the agency has ties to Hamas. As NPR's Daniel Estrin reports, millions of Palestinians depend on the agency's services.
NPR producer Anas Baba visited a medical clinic in Gaza run by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA.
I can see that there is at least 200 from men and women and children that are waiting at the gates for the health center to open.
UNRWA provides shelter, medicine, and food to Palestinian refugees displaced in the Gaza war and facing hunger. 33-year-old Mahmoud Shafi relies on the agency for flour rations. He called Israel's move against UNRWA another war on top of the Gaza war. Israel says some UNRWA staffers took part in the October 7th attack and accuses the agency of perpetuating Palestinians' refugee status 75 years after Israel's founding war.
NPR's Daniel Estrin. This is NPR.